Hey everyone, welcome back to Dank Plays, the daily Let's Play series that I do to make content, because I'm really lazy otherwise, I guess. Today I'm selling my soul, and we're playing Phasmophobia, the latest cult, indie, horror game. Honestly, it's pretty fun. It's about hunting ghosts. You get a couple of your friends together, and you go and you hunt some ghosts. It's a lot brighter in this house than I remember the other houses being. But that probably just means that the ghost is going to cut the power soon. So I really want to try and figure out what my flashlight button is just to be ready. Hello and welcome back to the show that happens maybe once every couple of months. Hi, Dank Toys here, or Dank, or Aaron. I don't give a shit. I don't know what that is. I know it's been a while. I think my last video was in October or something like that. I had one planned for Christmas, and then when I filmed it, it was boring, and I almost passed out halfway through because I was wearing this big ass Christmas sweater and I didn't have the AC on, and wasn't fun. So I canceled that and then just didn't do anything until now. But I figure I have a pretty good video for you guys today. I'm going to answer an age-old question that I've already answered in the past. That question is, are Bring Arts figures bad? I've talked about Bring Arts in the past, and the general consensus was bad. That's basically been my opinion of them for a good while. I know this is a Dawn and Garnet 2-pack actually did show up on my top 10. That was more from sheer surprise, if anything. I was very pleased to see that Bring Arts actually put out a good figure for once. So I'm going into this very negative. It's not like I would start this video already knowing what my end opinion is going to be, but whatever. Unfortunately, I've been buying a lot more of them lately because I really like Nier. This game, Nier Automata and then Nier, I really like them. They're fun games, and I enjoy them. But Bring Arts is all I've got. They're the only option that I have for 1/12 figures from Nier. So unfortunately, I've had to resort to Bring Arts. Now, you may not know what Bring Arts are. I don't understand why you'd be watching this channel if you don't, but to be fair, I've got friends who watch my things who aren't into action figures, so I'll explain for a second. Square Enix started a toy line, I want to say back in the early 2000s, maybe even the 90s, called Play Arts, and those sucked. And then they made Play Arts Kai, which were less suck, but more suck, and they were huge. They were big-ass figures, but weird scale, and they didn't scale with anything. You know, there's 1/12 seems to be the standard about now, which is like 6-inch figures. And those vary, you know, sometimes they're 7, sometimes they're like 5.5, but whatever. And then there's 1/6, which are double that, and they're 12 inches tall. I was about to say 12 feet tall. God, that would be terrifying. They're 12 inches tall, and that I would say that's the second most standard figure. And then Play Arts Kai makes like 1/9 figures. They're like 9 inches tall. It's the weirdest thing, and I don't understand it at all. So it's weird. So they make weird shit. But then, everybody started to get into 6-inch figures, and they were like, "Oh, you mean people don't like the big gross scale we've been putting out for years?" Okay, but they still won't even put Final Fantasy VII characters in this line, but whatever. So that's Bring Arts in a nutshell. Basically the same exact thing as Play Arts Kai, only shrunk down, and usually more QC issues. So I have a lot of Nier figures here. And some of you more keen-eyed viewers in the audience, or literally anyone with the ability to see, will probably notice that these are empty boxes. And that's because I already have the figures. It felt weird boxing them back up when I already had them. Felt disingenuous. But don't worry, I've got a surprise at the end, and we'll get into that. But regardless, I want to go through this entire line. I have most of the figures in this line. The only ones I don't have are A2, which I have her ordered, to be fair. I'm just I'm just waiting on that place to actually send it to me, which is taking a while. But I have her, and I don't have Adam and Eve, which is a 2-pack from the game, and that's because I'm not gay enough to need them. No, they're side characters. I don't know. I have no inclination to own them as of right now. That'll probably change, especially if they drop to like $60, which honestly, that's the way the trend is looking. But as of right now, this is all I have, and it's a vast majority of the Nier line. So I figured this would be a good look, at least at this line, which I know every line within Bring Arts is different and by different people. But whatever, we're gonna dive in. So let's get into it. I've got my ginger ale. I've got my otter socks. Let's go ahead and get in. So I'm gonna order this by how I physically got the figures, as in the order of which ones I got first, and that's technically Kaine from the first Nier game, who, as you can see, dressed like a prostitute. Nier's complicated and weird. Let's not get into it. So I got her first because I really like her character in the game, and honestly, she was like the first one to come out. There was a 2B that came out before her, but it came with a machine life form, the little droid things from Automata, and I didn't like that. Was a bad figure, and they had already announced the 2.0 at that point, I feel. So I didn't get that. They probably had some other Automata figures already out, but sorry, my grandma's cancer didn't spread, so give me a sec. That's some good news for me. Anyway, I'm sorry, I don't mean to distract. Kaine was the first one that I got because I had played the original Nier before Automata, and I really liked the characters in that game, and this was the first one, so it's like, screw it, I'm gonna get Kaine. I would probably like to get all of the figures from the original Nier, but if they don't make that, they don't make that. Well, they did make it, and I did get them. But I got her, and she's kind of iffy. She doesn't move all that well. She's hard to stand because she has high heels, which is typical for 6-inch figures. When you put a tiny little figure on high heels, they get harder to stand. When you put a full-size person on high heels, it gets harder to stand. She doesn't have any alternate faces. It's just this plain face, which, I mean, like, I don't know. I get she's stoic, but I would have liked a yelling face. She does a lot of yelling in the game, so I don't know. It seemed like a sound decision, but no alt faces. Of course, she's got her 2 weapons. She's got hands. The hands are fine, and that's basically it. And then she comes with like a little Emil head that you can put on her head, but that's not. I don't count that as an alt head. It's just an Emil like accessory, and I think Emil's cool, but it wasn't enough. And then she's got like this overlay dress thing it's softer plastic. It's still not really soft, and even though she's definitely like got it's a ball torso, ball waist. Even though she's got that, it's very difficult to get any movement out of the lower one. The upper one's a little bit easier, especially if you're going back, because it's got little cutouts in the back because she's dressed like a prostitute. But otherwise, it's an iffy figure. Honestly, I'm gonna spoil a little bit of the rest. This is probably my least favorite Bring Arts figure, unfortunately, because she's such a cool character. And then I did manage to get the 2.0 of the 2B because that was announced. I was like, oh, well, I'm just gonna get that one because why would I get the first one that's worse or this one that's better with more stuff specific to 2B? The machine life form one came with like a bunch of stuff for the machine too. So I was like, no. I don't need it. Yeah, see, it came with her little android. Sorry, her pod. It comes with her little pod, and I think that's cool. And it comes with a lot of cool stuff. You'll notice I don't have her standard weapons in it. That's because I also, around this time, I got the big box with all of the weapons. They had these little, like, a store buys a box. And then you as the customer browse through and you see these tiny little boxes within the box. And you pick one out and they're a mystery. And you take it home, you buy it, and then you take it home. And you open it up and you're like, oh, I wonder what weapon I got. Well, I didn't want that because I wanted all of them. So I just bought a whole box. So I really like the weapon set. is what I should have been calling it this whole time, because it gives me a lot of options for a lot of figures that I have to show. So I'm really happy that I got that. Regardless, let's actually talk about 2B. It's definitely better than the 1.0, but by a bit. Only by a bit. Still got iffy articulation, especially if you leave the skirt on. This skirt is very, very hard plastic. Again, there's a little bit of give, kind of like Kaine's, but it's got even less give. So just don't anticipate using a lot of the legs. Even though it's a little bit more open out, so you do have the options to get her into cool action poses. But it's still iffy. It'd be better if you swap on the skirtless lower torso, which this includes, which is nice. But otherwise, she's got no bicep movement. Her arms do come up a fair amount, and she does have alt faces this time, unlike Kaine. A grand total of 3. She's got the normal face, blindfold on yelling, and then blindfold off. Just stoic, just frowning as the android tends to do. She's pretty good. All things considered, compared to other things that I've gotten in this line, she's fair. Which is all I can ask for of Bring Arts at this stage. The next ones I got, Bring Arts likes to do a lot of 2-packs. They like to say, hey, dumbass, we don't want you to buy 1 figure. We want to go ahead and force you to buy 2 at the same time. So that kind of sucks. But I cheated the system by getting this 2-pack cheaper than they wanted me to spend. So I got the Nier and Emil. Spoiler from the Kaine review, they did end up making Nier and Emil, which are the other 2 protagonists from the original Nier. I'm having the hardest time getting this set up. Technically a 3-pack because Grimoire Weiss, the book, is his own character. That's all I'm saying. Let's start talking about Nier. This is the protagonist. Now, this isn't the one from the American game. Because, okay, so if you didn't play Nier, there are 2 versions. There's Replicant and Gestalt. Which the G1 is the one that Americans played because... So the G1, Gestalt, however you say it, that one was intended for Xbox 360 in Japan, where Replicant, this one, the canon one, was intended for PS3. However, when they brought it over to America, they kind of said, yeah, we don't need the Japanese one, just give us the 360 one. So even if you played on PS3, you're playing Gestalt, whatever. The only difference being the protagonist, instead of being Yona, which is another character's brother, which this one is, in America, you're her dad. That's basically the gist of it. Honestly, it makes a lot of the story a little bit weirder because it's clearly just not intended to be the dad the whole time. There are certain scenes that just become a little bit more uncomfortable when you take that into account. Regardless, I'm going to talk about Brother Nier here, and this is post time skip because nobody wants the pre time skip version. It looks weird. I might throw up a video. But I might not. And again, I have from the weapons trading set, Bring Arts box set, trading weapons thing. I have that because this was the weapon that I used in the main Nier game. Anyway, honestly, this one's probably my favorite Bring Arts to date. And I know I said 2B didn't have bicep swivel. That's because none of them do. None of them have any sort of bicep swivel. So I don't know why I singled that out. Regardless, he's pretty nice. They're all single jointed. His come up a lot. He's come up really close to the point where I'm like, you know what? That's okay. And that's the thing about Bring Arts is a lot of them do have single jointed elbows. I had the Bring Arts Cloud. I had a lot of the Kingdom Hearts figures. I had the Bring Arts Cloud though, from Kingdom Hearts 1. He could basically do this. And for a character that's supposed to rest his sword on his back, that's not enough. That's not nearly enough for me. So that was a problem that I had. And honestly, I sold all of those Kingdom Hearts figures. But he's got great elbow movement. Where he faults a little bit is the knee movement, which those are also single jointed, as are all of these asterisks. It only comes up to there. And I partially blame that on the fact that he's got a lot of leg armor, so like I don't expect him to get that much. And to be fair, it hasn't really hindered any posing. This is still the most posable buff. This is still the most posable figure that I've gotten from Bring Arts. He's still got his quirks, no alternate faces, no face options whatsoever. It's upsetting, but he's got hands, and he is Brother Nier, which is a figure that I didn't have before. And then almost as an accessory to him is Emil, and Emil's Emil. He's about what you would expect, but he's nice. He's good. And he's a good little gay boy. That's an underlying theme of the story. He's basically just a little skeleton man. Let me take off his tunic and actually show you. He's got this little skelly body. Honestly, it's a little fragile and it doesn't move too much. Again, I consider this an accessory to Nier, but he's a fine enough figure, and it's one that wasn't in the line yet. And getting his little tunic back on is a little bit difficult. And see, that's the thing. I would prefer if there wasn't this overlay plastic tunic, even if it's a little bit soft plastic. I would prefer if they would just give me cloth. I don't need it to be wired cloth. I just want cloth. Yeah, this is an instance where I really feel like cloth would come in handy, just because it just blocks it up, and it's kind of similar to Revoltech capes. They're just segmented and jointed, and they're ugly. This one's not as bad, mainly because the only joints are in the back, and everything else still flows pretty well. But it would have opened up a lot more possibilities if it was just cloth. And I know Bring Arts seems to be allergic to cloth, but whatever. Next up, and I'm moving 2B in closer for a reason, and it's because they share a stand for me. But then I got 9S, and 9S kind of sucks. He's basically got the same problem that 2B and Kaine did, which is he's got this soft plastic shit as an overlay instead of any joint cuts, and they're under there. You can feel that they're under there, but they get no movement. Not with this soft but not soft enough plastic over top. It's bad. And then otherwise it's the same articulation so far. His arms come up a good amount. His legs a little bit more than 90, not enough. And that's basically it. He comes with some weird shit. But this is one thing that I will commend Bring Arts for. He comes with the alternate 2B hand at the end of the game. Spoilers. He loses his hand and he replaces it with one from a 2B android. At least he comes with, enough stuff to do that. Not the same as 2B because he doesn't have a yelling face. He's got blindfold on, blindfold off normal eyes, and blindfold off red eyes because whatever. 9S is honestly close to Kaine. I'm not the biggest fan of him, and he's just iffy. And rounding out the stuff I had already owned is 2P, which is a weird character, which is distinctly different from 2B, but also not at all. If you own 2B, you know the quality of 2P. That's basically all I have to say. So this isn't really, I'm just going to talk about the character for a second. 2P showed up, I know she was in Final Fantasy XIV. I can't remember why, because I haven't played that game, or really any MMO. She was there, and I also believe that she was part of Soul Calibur, the latest one. Whichever the last one was, she was in that one. Because, as a fighting game appearance, Soul Calibur, They needed a second player color for 2B. So they made 2P, which second player, you get the whatever. Vanilla chocolate. That's the difference between 2B and 2P. She's got the same paint. I would have thought it would have been maybe a little bit nicer, but I also didn't have any problems with 2B. Regardless, she was a Square Enix store exclusive because Square Enix likes to do that for a lot of things. And they've been doing it with their collector's versions lately, and I don't like that. Don't you fuck. So whatever. So that was 2P, and that was the extent of my so far experience with Nier Bring Arts figures. I could end the video there, but you know, I gotta do one for the fans. And you might have noticed I left out the fact that Devila and Popola have a figure, and that's because I bought the figure pack. Devila and Popola are some pretty cool characters. I really like their character arcs, even if they're background characters. And also, they're holding hands in the box. I don't know how well you can see that at home, but it's cute. It's really cute. So I'm gonna get these open, and this I just got this. This is real. This is a real live unboxing. So I'm gonna see how it pans out. For starters, standard affair. All Bring Arts come with stands, all of them. It's weird. It's like Mafex, I guess. But I wouldn't really use these. These really only work as, I mean, like Emil's is necessary because he flies, because he just floats. And then for Grimoire Weiss, and for the pods, and for the weapons. But everyone else, they kind of feel like they're only tall enough to just make sure that your figure is standing. And I typically don't like to use figure stands like that. So maybe I shouldn't be commenting on the fact that Kaine can't stand worth a damn, because they provide a stand, and usually I do like to give leeway for that. But also I'm not. Okay, so I've thoroughly fiddled with them, and Devila's pretty good. She's got pretty good movement. Her elbows come up a good amount. These actually have double jointed knees, and I like that. And I mean, it makes sense. They've got like knee armor, so only seems to be fair. They kind of still have the same issue as Kaine and 9S and 2B, where they've got this soft plastic overlay. I wasn't expecting that to change whatsoever, but you really just get no movement out of the lower torso. But the upper torso moves mostly back, but a little bit forward too. Got a good selection of hands. Actually has alt faces, even if the difference in face basically boils down to, and so that's, you know. But otherwise, I think yeah, she's nice. Popola's the exact same. They're the same figure, but mirrored with new heads. That's it. That's the extent of both of them. I think if you're already in the Nier line and you like these characters, I think it wouldn't be the worst buy in the world. I think that these really are pretty stellar, all things considered, for this line and this brand. Or if you just like redheads. Technically speaking, they show up in both games, but also technically not at all. Devila and Popola were in the first Nier game, but they had very different outfits, and that's because they were different entities entirely. At the end of Nier, spoiler, you're the bad guy. Legitimately, you're doing bad things, and you don't exactly know what bad things that you're doing, but you're doing bad things. And at the end, Devila and Popola step in, and they're like, "Dude, stop! You have no idea what you're doing." But they also don't tell you what you're doing bad. But they get in your way, and you have to kill them because you're the protagonist, and you have protagonist powers, so you end up doing that. And then 10,000 years later, come the time of Automata, these two figures. These two, Devila and Popola, show up. They're not the same Devila and Popola from the first Nier game, but they are in the same line, and they don't know what those other two versions of Devila and Popola did. All they know is that everyone fucking hates them. So it's real sad, and there's this whole, like, not text adventure, but it's like these scrolling text blocks. Those are typical in the Nier games. If you don't want to read a lot, don't play Nier. They scroll through and they tell you the story of this Devila and Popola, and it's real tragic. It's real sad. But I love them. They're my little jelly beans, I guess. I don't know. This is definitely the weebiest thing that I own, and that's okay. I'm fine being my one weeb thing. But regardless, Devila and Popola aren't what this video is all about. This video was all about Bring Arts. And I really wanted to sit down and take a look and think, is Bring Arts still bad? Yes. Yeah, Bring Arts still kind of suck, honestly. And I think, so I haven't said that much negative in this video yet. And that's because I haven't mentioned the prices at all. I've distinctly not mentioned the prices. Because I think that's where Bring Arts starts to be bad. When I say that a figure's bad, I'm usually taking everything into account. When I say a McFarlane figure is ugly and weird, it's ugly and weird for a $20 figure. Of course, not counting, I love the Space Marines. When I say a Hasbro figure, it has poor articulation. I say that a Hasbro figure has poor articulation compared to other things that are also $20. Comparing Bring Arts to other imports at the same price, they suck. They're terrible and they're a ripoff. These typically come out to Mafex prices when honestly they're more like Figuarts quality. And I probably pissed off a lot of people in both of those statements. Don't care. Bring Arts just... they need to do a lot more, honestly. For how much they're trying to charge you. And look, this comes down to the box design as well. So you get this big chunkster of an inlay. And you're like, oh, it's obviously got a lot. Then you take out the stand thing. And the front of the box. And what you're left with is this tiny little thing. And this is for 2 figures. This is something for 2 figures, and they were crammed into this tiny little thing. This is the amount of the accessories and the value that you are getting in this tiny little thing. You want to know how much Devila and Popola cost? Before shipping from Japan, $141. That's insane. For these two, for a single sword and a couple hands and one alternate head, $70 before shipping. That's a Mafex price. And that does not come with all of the accessories that a lot of Mafex figures come with. I'm not going to say every Mafex figure comes with a lot of accessories. Some of them suck, but those also suck. Nier and Emil, this decent figure with, again, no accessories, and this tiny little skeleton boy, same price, $140. This is insane. These are nuts prices. Factoring in US prices, the prices that Square Enix US shop sells them for, and even other companies like Big Bad Toy Store, Sure Thing Toys, or Amazon, these are like $90. So, excuse me for calling these shit when they charge this much for what you're getting. It's asinine. And so there's where Bring Arts start to be shit in my mind. When I got the Zidane and the Garnett 2-pack, I paid less for that. I paid $130 when it cost $150 originally, before shipping from Japan. In US prices, it was like $160, $170, something like that. So that surprised me. For that price, I thought that was a good figure. Devila and Popola, $100. Nier and Emil, $100. Those are the prices that I paid for these 2 figures. Great. Great prices. They should have started at that. It's insane, the MSRP that these go for. So do I think Bring Arts are bad? I've already said so. Yes, they're still bad for the price. Figure-wise, they're fine. They're okay. And once you get them in hand, once you get over how much you spent for a lot of these, you're like, okay, I'm okay with this. These are fine. These are decent figures, and these are decent representations of a game that I really care about on my shelf. So, at the end of the day, that's all I can ask for. But, they're still shit, and I'm going to continue to call them shit, because too much. Way too much. These should not cost the prices that Square Enix is trying to charge for these. I think if you're a big Nier fan, it's okay. Sadly, I've seen a lot of these prices starting to go up versus from when I bought them. Devil and Popola you can still get around $100. I think I got them on AmiAmi for $90 before shipping. So again, I round that to $100 because I shipped other things with it. Nier and Emil I got for $100. Everything else I unfortunately paid around retail for. Especially 2P, which I completely missed the window on that one, so I paid a little bit more for her. If you're a big Nier fan, I would not pay any more than MSRP for these figures. They're starting to go up. They're starting to be more expensive. When they start hitting the like 100 to 120 for a single figure, you peace out. You're gone. I cannot recommend them at that price whatsoever. But I'm going to try to end this video on a positive note. I do like these figures, and I do like the presence that they have on my shelf. I enjoy having representation from this video game series that has so much meaning to me in my own personal life. I like seeing them on my shelf. And I'm excited for the remake of Replicant. I hope that Yoko Taro does more things with it. This is going to sound contradictory. I want to see Bring Arts do more of his stuff. I think Nier is pretty much covered. Only ones I could see potentially getting made is a Shadow Lord from Nier, a Yona from Nier, and obviously the Devil and Popola from the Nier game. I don't know if I would get those Devil and Popola. I think these are the better versions of those characters. But I could see a Shadow Lord and Yona 2-pack. I could definitely see that happening. But then I also want to see other Yoko Taro games. Like the Drakengard series, which is in the same universe as Nier, if you weren't aware, through a joke ending, ironically enough. I'd like to see Kaim. I'd buy a Kaim, and I'd buy a Zero. And honestly, that's it. Those are the only two Drakengard figures that I would get. Yeah. Oh, and I guess the dragons. Yeah, I'd definitely get the dragons. I'd get Mikhail from 3, and I'd get Angelus from Drakengard 1. I don't want any figures from Drakengard 2. It's not really Drakengard. Because it's got a little bit of Yoko Taro in there, but not enough to be a Drakengard game for me. But it's not bad. Regardless, again, Bring Arts, take of this video what you will. I think they're still iffy. There's still an iffy figure line. But I like these figures. And that's the end of my video. Wobble wobble doo da, ba bop bang bing.